welcome to the Star Wars Rebels After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. We are talking Season 3, Episodes 21 and 22, collectively referred to as 0 Hour, or Part 1 and 2 if you want to break them down that way. We'll be breaking down both of the episodes and talking about just this season as a whole after the break.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I love that it was like part 1 and like they could have just really rolled all the way through without the like part 1 and part 2ing of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I'm very, very glad they did not make us wait a week between part 1 and part 2 because I would have been climbing the
have
walls.
to completely agree with you because I mean that is the thing is that like even though obviously there is a very strong through line and it is a relatively serial series, each episode kind of tells a complete story typically, and this was very much half a story.
Exactly.
In part 1 and then part 2, of course, being the second half. What is up, everybody? Here we are. It is the end of Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. We're here talking about it on the Star Wars Rebels After Show. If you guys are listening on iTunes, that's great. Subscribe, leave us reviews. We like that kind of stuff. But if you are listening on iTunes, remember you can also pop on over to YouTube and vice versa for those of you watching on YouTube. And we stream live on YouTube. Right now it's Sunday nights at 7 o'clock tonight, but typically 8 o'clock. We'll see what happens when the show comes back. We have no idea what day it's going to be on. It used to be on Tuesdays, then it was on Saturdays. We will see, but you can always...
We are adaptable.
We are, absolutely. But it is really fun. You can join us live, and we are following along with that live chat as well as the hashtag on Twitter, ABTVRebels. Let me introduce the wonderful panel joining me this evening. We have Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies. You can find me on Twitter at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet.
Megan Salinas.
Hey guys, you can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin.
And I am Emma Fyffe. I can be found all over the internet at my name, Emma Fyffe, EMMAFYFFE. So, Season 3.
As a whole, oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, I know that there are definitely some issues with the season as a whole, and I feel like we addressed a lot of that last week.
Yeah, I agree.
But oh my gosh, from beginning to end, this has been a very different season. It's been very dark, very brooding, very, very little filler.
Yeah.
And all in all, I'm like, can I have Season 4 now, please?
And I will say that, the filler episodes that we did get, because the only one that really, really stands out in my brain as being filler is Double Agent Droid.
Yeah,
which I love. But we learned something about the characters from that episode, and it was really well written, and it was just a really fun overall experience.
And we got some full-on terrifying villains.
Oh yeah. And to me that felt a lot more like it was fun and it was adding integral layers to the characters as well as kind of to the Star Wars universe in general, because we got a better look at the listeners there than Space Whales did last season. No offense to Space Whales, but
Space Whales.
No offense to Beastmaster.
I was gonna say I'm glad we've kind of left behind Beastmaster Ezra, Though I think that one of the sort of problems I've had with this season is that as Ezra has become a little more independent of Kanan and is kind of been doing things on his own, there has been a little bit of this sort of savior-y story with him. All of a sudden he's really good at piloting ships and,
I was okay with that because they actually built some of that up. Some of it came right out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But we had the dialogue to at least say, hey, we've been doing this off screen.
Sure,
so they've been doing their homework, and obviously we don't see every moment of their lives.
Exactly.
I'm comparing this to Iron Fist because I'm going through that and there's none of that dialogue going on. So I'm just this is such a relief.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I will say is that it's not to the point that it's full blown and really bothering me. It's just something that I noticed that was actually making Ezra a little bit less interesting to me as a character, because what makes him so interesting is his struggle.
Well, let's be real. Thrawn is the most interesting character in this
my
season.
Goodness, no,
and
Thrawn
it's
is
hard
amazing.
to keep up with that.
It's very true, and I'm thrilled that Thrawn is going to continue. He's not dead.
Yes, and not to mention that, I really love that. Had everything, Thrawn would have won this.
Yeah.
It was just very specific actions taken, certain people going where they weren't supposed to.
Right.
Thrawn was
Constantine.
hey,
Constantine.
I told you to stay there. And a literal force of nature, like, that nobody could have accounted for coming into play. Those are the only reasons why Thrawn was not successful in this endeavor.
Bendu wanted them to get off his lawn. That was what happened there. He's the old man who will bring you in for lemonade and cookies, but then someone started tearing up his topiaries and he was done.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Bendu a little bit, because I'm
so happy.
See, I'm not sure that I loved everything that happened with him. It felt a little Deus Ex Machina to me.
A little bit. They did introduce him at the beginning of the season, and they introduced him. It was kind of odd that somebody who was introduced to us as this very zen, middle of the road character would all of a sudden explode into a rage.
Right.
Because Kanan's like, you're a coward.
The other thing is, it's very, very easy to be zen and middle of the road when the conflict isn't at your doorstep. When you can go, well, I don't get involved. It's fine. And I'm having trouble coming up with examples, but I know I've seen this person in media before. We don't get involved. We don't get involved. We don't get our hands dirty. The Watchers on Oa. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, it's that sort of thing where you can say you're uninvolved all you want, but when it shows up and it's at your doorstep, staying uninvolved is a lot more difficult. And like I said, this planet is his lawn, and they're tearing up his topiaries, and some kid came in and started poking him with a stick, and he is just 8,000% done.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's hard, too, when you introduce a character like the Bendu, who is very much meant to be this middle-of-the-road character of, like, not getting involved.
He's the light and the dark.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I would have been... I guess the way that they tried to spin it of, like, no, he's not, like, all about the good guys is because, like, he was kind of a dick to Kanan. You know what I mean?
He just wanted them all gone.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder if he really was the light and the darkness, the actual balance, or if that was just what he thought of himself.
Well,
and I'm leaning towards the latter.
Well, I kind of disagree because he said it himself. Kanan brought war to his planet.
Yeah.
This planet that prior to this was only inhabited by jerk spiders.
Yeah.
And himself.
That didn't bother
Well, that is true. And I mean, when he does turn into a storm, it is affecting the whole planet. So it's not like he specifically did that in a way that was just assisting the rebels.
Yeah.
That was very much a detriment to the rebels as much as it was a detriment to the Empire.
Oh, yeah.
And when the Empire comes down to this planet, the planet is then... the balance is gone because the dark side has come to the planet. So by expelling all of them, balance is restored.
And he's going to go repair his topiaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. I felt like, I think if they had more gradually reintroduced the Bendu into the storyline, it would have felt less Deus Ex Machina to me.
Or
That's
if we'd
fair.
had more of him along the way.
Yeah,
we've seen the Bendu maybe once in the latter half of
Yeah.
this
We
season.
had him in the very beginning, and then we saw him one other time.
Yeah.
Outside of the beginning of the season. A little bit sprinkling more here and there. Yeah, because otherwise it does feel like this actual force of nature coming down from the sky and striking lightning down on his enemies.
And I
It's
have
kinda Deus Ex
mixed
Machina.
feelings about it because, as I say, it's like I like the Bendu so much as a character. I like the idea of him being the absolute neutral. And I liked his prophecies to both Kanan and to Thrawn.
Yes.
Yes.
What I really like about this, and yeah, a little bit of Deus Ex Machina, but I really like seeing the power that the Bendu is capable of.
Right.
He was introduced to us as this very interesting layered character because he isn't quite light or dark. But what I really loved about this force of nature going into action is that over the course of this episode, you see more range of emotion out of Thrawn than we have ever since he like
Showed
grabbed
up.
that
Yes,
grabbed
leaving.
that guy by
Yeah.
the scruff. And this is the most emotional we've seen him, and it's all very subtle, but it's all there. And when he tells Thrawn, "I see your defeat,"
Yes.
oh,
That to me
just for
was like a
brief
description of
second.
the zombie apocalypse. Like,
Yeah.
of 100 arms and a cold embrace. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's getting eaten by zombies.
I liked it. I really liked it.
And then the whole, like, I'm beyond your power to kill. Well, it doesn't seem like that. And then the prediction and the I don't think so trying to kill him. That to me seemed like Thrawn trying to take back the power that he's just lost with that prediction. Like someone has looked at him and said, "Oh, honey, you are hosed, and I know it." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And just that ethereal laughter, like
Thrawn
that is
the
the
one that
defeat.
sees through people. He's not the one that gets seen through.
Exactly.
So like that cuts deep, I think.
Yeah, again, like there were lots of things that Bendu did in this episode that I liked. It just felt a little too convenient.
Yeah. Again, if he had shown up a couple episodes ago.
Sure, absolutely. And if I felt like things had gone down on Atollon in this episode to the point that like he was really forced to take action, then I'd be more on board with it. But it felt more like Kanan showed up and he was like, I don't want to get involved. And just like...
You know what would have made more sense? If he had gotten angry after the storm of laser bullets came down onto the
Sure,
planet.
absolutely.
He did though.
No, but he
feel
got
like-
angry at Kanan and then like disappeared and then only came as the storm like when they actually showed up on the planet.
Yeah.
But I feel like getting angry at Kanan and leaving was this guy's being a jerk. I don't want it here. I'm not going to get involved. And when they started tearing up the planet itself, because that's what that bombardment was that was the topiaries. That was it. If they hadn't done the planet bombardment, I would guess that he wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah.
It took them directly endangering his planet, tearing up his front lawn for him to be like, no, we're done. And he was less a force for good than he was leveling the playing field.
Yeah,
quite literally.
He killed
leveling
quite a few rebels
everyone.
on their way out as well.
As I say, the further I get away from it, the more I'm okay with it. But just like in the moment, I was like, oh, but I like... We have all these other characters that like should be solving their own problems, much like Sabine did once we got her back in.
Yeah.
And I
It was
liked
so nice
going to
seeing her
Sabine.
again.
I did too.
And just seeing that life doesn't stop when the camera moves away from you.
Yeah, that's
like that
absolutely
we
true.
had that.
Yeah, and I liked because it was so crazy that she left. Like I did not see that coming.
But it's also like this is a perfect example of like looking ahead when you're writing a series. You're like, I'm gonna put this character here, so that when things go down, we have someone we can go to for help.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, she was perfectly positioned, you know, being on Cronist, the planet, the sort of moon of Mandalore that her family is on, and for Ezra to show up and be like, hey, we need like some reinforcements here.
Yeah, it's not narrative. It's not a contrivance for him to go to her to ask for help, or for them to acquiesce to that because, like, they owe him one basically.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And again, it was like, and I liked that when they did go get reinforcements, it was a very sort of creative solution of, okay, well, like, we're not exactly at full strength. We can't take everybody with us because we're in the middle of this civil war. You know, the Saxon clan is still at large.
And this is after Mon Mothma turns him down.
Yeah.
She's like, sorry.
There's nothing I can do. Can't get
Sorry,
involved.
guys. Good luck. Bye.
Yeah. Well, and so, you know, it was like Ezra basically relying on the fact that he had this previously existing friendship with Sabine. And again, it's like, she's such a creative problem solver. It was because she couldn't take a whole fleet. They had to leave a bunch of people on Cronist. So she's like, maybe we don't need an army. All we got to do is go in there and...
Yeah, we don't need to win this fight. We just need to be able to get everyone out of there.
Yeah. The victory condition is surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that counts as a win. Speaking of, like, I loved seeing the gravity wells come back.
Yes.
Like, talking about, like, a show that has done a really good job planting specific seeds in certain places. Introducing the gravity well into the show. Yes, it existed in Star Wars canon. Yes, we know.
Sure, of course.
But, like, it's really great to bring it into this show so that, like, all of a sudden we're not like, what are gravity wells by the time the season 3 finale comes around?
Rebels doesn't really waste anything.
Nah.
No, it definitely doesn't. And I mean, you know, they very specifically incorporated some things that, you know, you saw in Rogue One, because we're getting closer and closer to kind of the onset of that. I mean, one, of course, being dear old General Dodonna, who we see obviously initially in A New Hope, but in Rogue One as well. So it was fun to have that character in there.
Speaking of a little bit of voice actor trivia for you, that's Michael Bell, who he's one of those voice actors whose resume is a mile long.
For sure.
One of the original voice actors in Voltron.
Oh, no way.
Did the voice of Lance. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I love
Man
that.
is into everything.
He's literally done like a million things.
Yeah. So, you had General Dodonna in there and also the Death Troopers. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, those guys are scary.
Yeah, Death Troopers.
Like we saw in Rogue One taking Jin's father away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there was that great parallel scene where in Rogue One, they go to the planet that like Jyn and her family were living on. And why am I totally drawing a blank on the name of the bad guy in
guy.
Rogue One?
I never knew his name. It's just that guy.
Bureaucrat, man?
Always in white.
Yeah, oh my gosh, this is gonna kill. I'm gonna have to look it up. But anyway, there's this nice parallel scene where like he first shows up and he's surrounded by those Death Troopers, and you have Thrawn like exiting the ship, flanked by the Death Troopers.
In that terrible hat.
Yes,
That hat looks terrible on him.
You said wonderful things about
He
it.
looks
They need
like
to
he's
hear
a
it.
rich guy on safari when he wears that helmet. He really does. It looks so bad on him.
And then when Thrawn shows up in front of the fallen Bendu and starts talking to him, she says,
Oh gosh, like, oh, look what I caught on safari.
yeah,
it's just like he's a rich guy on safari. It's hilarious.
yeah.
Because that's really what that is. And it looks so bad.
Thrawn's made a lot of interesting choices.
Yes,
I never felt
that
like
hat was one
fashion
of them.
was a bad choice for him.
No, but overall, I think he's a much more effective villain than Orson Krennic, which
Chad
is the
says
name of the
Krennic,
bad
yep.
guy.
Yeah.
in Rogue One. I was like, it's like a cub, but all I can think of is Admiral Constantine, because you guys, maybe I am a horrible person, but I am so glad that he finally died.
gone.
Yeah. And I love that we built it, like all throughout the season, Thrawn has just been kind of putting him through the grinder for being incompetent. And we have this last little bit of, he wants glory so badly, and he sees it right there, and it's like, well, screw you. I'm taking this. It's like, oh, friend, that is such a small-minded way to look at it, and that's exactly what they were counting on.
Sato.
Oh, Commander Sato.
Now this is a really great example of a really good send off for a character.
That I will. I mean, this again is like
It's
maybe
so
morbid
sad.
and weird, but like this was one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Because it was amazing.
It's devastating, but at the same time, like Commander Sato, he knew that he needed to help Ezra get away, and there was one way to do it, and he took it.
Yeah.
It's a man who understands
was-
the bigger picture.
And it was so sad seeing those two pilots also go, we're gonna
staying.
stay. It was like, man, your station.
It was like the captain going down with the ship on the Titanic.
It was. That's exactly what it was.
And the band played on.
They did. They played on, guys.
And again, it was just, they set it up so nicely for this really emotionally devastating moment wherein you saw that coming from a mile away, but
Yeah.
like in the best way possible.
Well, and not
There's
to
just
mention,
that moment of, oh.
Yeah.
well, not to mention that, like, we've also gotten to meet, like, members of his family, and, like, he's been with us since season 1, and like, also, Thrawn acknowledges that, like, hey, we've had this history together, too, and so for this character to sacrifice his life for the greater picture of everything, it's sad, but what a great send-off.
Yeah, if we had a season 1 character that I was expecting to bite it today, it was Kallus.
I know, and he didn't. Oh my goodness.
I love that he annoyed Price into letting him go.
It was
that was
great.
because he's just sitting there
I know.
just being a jerk.
He's
And she's
like-
like, you know what? Throw him out an airlock. And I'm like, it's just that smirk going into the elevator.
Yeah.
Like, I win.
Smirk, though.
Yeah.
That smirk.
He's like, man, Governor Price, Thrawn's gonna be real mad when he finds out that you let the interdictor like get totally disabled.
It's like, wow, look how much you've screwed up. The rebels have beaten me, and they're totally going to beat you
So-
too. And she is just 8,000% done with the world by this point. So it's like, throw him out an airlock. I don't even care. Just get rid of him.
Yeah.
So can we talk about like how part 1, because of Agent Kallus, part 1 episode, part 1 of this 2-parter kicked my heart so
I
hard
know.
repeatedly, because it's like, oh, this is the moment we've been dreading. This is the bit where he's gonna die.
I for sure thought that they were just gonna kill him immediately.
Me too. I thought
No.
they were going to use him to send out false information. Like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
disappointed that didn't happen.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
But given the timing, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. Given all of our theories, this was actually the best possible outcome, because I don't think any
Yeah.
of us expected him to live
Oh,
past
no.
this season.
And
he could still die.
I still,
Yeah.
Probably still still going to die.
I mean, the
He's living on borrowed time.
The Bendu basically said, like, yeah, you and everyone you know are going to die, Kanan.
Yeah.
So
everyone dies eventually.
Yeah.
But like for this, man, to actually see it start to happening and to like anticipate, like, oh no, this is because I thought they were going to kill him immediately as well.
Yeah.
The fact that he actually held his own for a tiny bit of time against
For long
Thrawn,
enough to get the message out.
Yeah, that's super impressive. And two, like, it's also super messed up that, yeah, they didn't kill him right away. They didn't kill him right away so they could make him watch all of his rebel friends die. That's messed up, Thrawn.
They also probably wanted all of the information that he had.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made sense that we had Thrawn expositing. We needed that for the audience
For
to
sure.
figure out how did Thrawn figure out where they were when they weren't on a map.
Oh
and
my
it was
God,
art.
it was
that
awesome.
Was so well put together. And again, I like that we're no longer taking on credit that he's near omniscient with all the stuff he knows. It's like, I specifically studied art, and ancient art depicts a galaxy here in the middle of where all these other things. Like, okay,
It's nice to see the
you
thought
had
process.
that skill set. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
I really enjoyed that as well. Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, like, there was a moment at the beginning where Kallus was using a mouse droid to, like, spy on a conversation, and I was like, ooh, maybe this is gonna go well, because obviously that's where he got the information that they knew where the rebel base was and they were going to attack. So then he went to go send the message, and then as soon as he got, like, locked out of sending the message, it was like, no!
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, was this Ezra's home on Lothal, like that little radio tower?
It might have been because I mean that was because there's still a big gaping hole of the plan was to basically attack Lothal, like the Imperial base on Lothal, to
Yeah, it reminds me of that little tower that Ezra was living in, and it had all those stormtrooper helmets in it. So
You
I
know
think
what it reminded me of?
What?
The tower at the end of Rogue One. You know, the only communication tower on the planet, because engineers in the Empire are super smart,
I mean,
y'all.
they were definitely supposed to be on Lothal, so
But yeah, so like I'm like, if he's transmitting fulcrum messages from Ezra's old home, like that's so sweet. Like,
Yeah.
and the code phrase is by the light of Lothal's moon. Yeah. It's like, aw.
which Thrawn found out. Oh, man, but I loved that they just had like a straight up brawl, like when Thrawn prevented him from sending the message
and catching the helmet.
Yeah.
Just like, oh god, everything is amazing.
He swept the knee. It was so great.
I'm terrified, but everything is amazing.
Well, and it's always nice to see somebody get the better of Thrawn, even if it's just for a second, because Thrawn's in the middle of saying, "Hey, your technique is good, but your abilities are limited because of your Imperial training," and that's exactly when Kallus gets the upper hand by playing
You talk
dirty.
too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. And let's talk about Kallus's like sexy hair. You know what I mean? Like,
Just the one piece out of place.
And like with those cuts on his face, I'm like, you wear that well.
I
good
know,
sir.
he looked good in this
You look
episode.
great.
Never do a ponytail. Like when you wear a ponytail.
No, don't do the Javert ponytail, please.
No,
I can't take it.
No, rubber bands break your hair. That's the thing. And they don't tell women that because we're supposed to wear it up. But when man buns were a thing, that was the big, oh, don't wear it in a ponytail all the time. It breaks your hair. I'm like, well, okay, fine. But when you do that, you have those pieces that barely stay in, and that was one of them. And it's like, I have been there. It hangs in your face for forever. It's such a pain.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
The only thing I didn't like about Kallus, first of all, like I loved everything with Kallus in this episode.
Me too.
The motion for his expressions were fantastic because he ran
so
the gamut as
good.
well. Like A+ on the animation on this one, guys.
Just the smirk in
amazing.
the elevator.
That-
Just the smirk
Well,
in the
even
elevator.
a lot of the looks of like dismay. Like again, both he and Thrawn went through, like all of the characters went through like a torrent of emotions. But like and I loved his escape too. It was like it was so perfect. Like in the way that only a movie escape can be perfect.
Yeah.
I was expecting that pod to get shot. Like, I was expecting terrible things to happen before they were able to pick it up, and they didn't. And it was just like, oh my god, he lived!
I was like, even when he made his escape, like, and he's in that escape pod, like, I thought he might have been getting into a bit of a more complex ship, and it's like a TIE fighter or something. So in my head, I'm still like, please don't kill yourself. please don't kill yourself. Please don't
be a hero.
Don't pull a Sato, please.
Yeah.
And he just decided to get out of Dodge and hail the one ship that he knew would be able to pick him up because Hera has those skills.
And it went perfectly. The only thing I didn't like about Kallus' story in these 2 episodes, I love the moment he had with Kanan. I really wish he had had a moment with Zeb. Just really quickly.
Well,
it doesn't even need to be huge.
I loved Zeb's reaction to realizing that it was Agent Kallus that was like hailing them because they just saw the fulcrum symbol, and he was like, "It's Kallus."
He's alive. Yeah. So I would have just like an arm punch.
Yeah.
Would have been like super.
Yeah, I agree. Though the moment with Kanan was really nice.
It was great. And then, you just have the door closing on him, too, where it's just like, this is where he is now, and we're going to close the door on that for right now.
Well, and letting Kallus live, now the rebellion has all of the information about the Empire that he knows. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure all the passwords and codes and everything will be changed right away.
Of
because
course.
That's what you do when a high-level person leaves your employ. You change all the passwords that they had. But still, there's a lot of info that he has that they can use.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's gonna be interesting to see how that all
I'm so happy.
plays out in subsequent seasons.
Happy.
But I am very happy. I'm
yet.
very happy that Kallus is still alive, and I'm glad. I'm excited to see how they incorporate him kind of into the team.
It was an unexpected gift.
It really was.
I think we were all sitting here going, well, he's dead. He is a dead man. Oh my God,
I still think he's eventually going to get killed.
Oh yeah,
But-
he's absolutely on borrowed time right now. But
I really can't wait to see the various interactions because it's like, how do you interact with this guy who, you threw a pane of glass that one time? And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you threw me through a window one time. Well,
it's okay.
you kind of deserved it, in my defense.
Yeah.
It's like, let's be completely real.
Water
here.
under the bridge.
Yeah.
We're cool, right?
Yeah. The other, and you brought up, wanting to have this moment between Zeb and Kallus that we didn't get, but I think we'll get probably a nice episode of the two of them. I mean,
episodes with them.
I honestly feel like maybe it'll be a Zeb and Kallus episode that Kallus ultimately meets his demise in. Like, I feel like that interaction with Zeb was like part of the sort of catalyst of having him be a turncoat basically and switch sides.
So we're gonna go full circle.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're gonna go full circle with that eventually. But that's more predictions territory. But I did like that because I obviously loved the season finale of season 2. So incredible, the showdown with Ahsoka and Vader and all the stuff with Darth Maul. But I like that this was more of a group effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got these amazing space battles in this episode, and we also got that really nice scene of Zeb and Captain Rex.
Yeah.
Going to put up the shield around the base.
Yes.
And I love that a lot of it was just awful banter in the middle of awful times because dark humor is what gets you through.
Well, exactly.
And the bit that got me was, it seems like Thrawn's really trying to kill us this time. That's only funny because you're still alive.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad were on fire this episode.
Rex and
They were
Zeb
great.
being buddies in this episode was fantastic. Hera was a freaking all-star.
Yeah, she really was.
All the way through.
If I'm gonna go, I'm going in the ghost. Just oh!
And
You lie here and die, don't mind me.
You know that she's the one that Thrawn wants to bring in, out of all of the rebel officers.
Totally. Because Thrawn very specifically was, they very, or it was Grand Moff Tarkin was like, you need to capture these rebel leaders, don't kill them. And Thrawn's like, it might not be possible to capture people. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna capture them.
You are smart enough that you can devise a plan where you can capture that. When your superiors know that you're that competent, you don't get that wiggle room. You don't have an excuse. Either you capture them or it's a failure.
Right.
And this was just a failure on all counts for Thrawn.
I know, but at the same time, it's like this weird place of it wasn't really a victory for the rebels either.
Oh, no.
Except from the point of view that they lived.
Yeah.
which I really liked. You know what I mean?
When you're fighting a losing war, sometimes that's the victory condition.
Well, I mean,
you survive, good.
And I mean, that was kind of the thing, you know, tonally, it was very similar in some ways. Obviously, like, not on quite as devastating a scale, but kind of similar to Rogue One from the point of view that when I watched Rogue One, that was the first time in Star Wars, besides like Rebels and Clone Wars, where I was like really feeling all of the deaths. Yeah. Like I feel, and this is the first time, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of deaths in Rebels, but a lot of them have been like, you know, this is going to sound terrible, but like civilians who you didn't necessarily know the names of or anything. Yeah, NPCs. But I really felt the deaths of the NPCs even in this because you had all the pilots that got killed. Yeah. And that was very much how I felt watching Rogue One. Like I felt it like every time one of those people got killed on the beach by a sand trooper. Like it was just...
Because Rogue One isn't all the space Jesus figures.
Yeah.
Rogue One is all of the little people. I hate to say it, but it's the war part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you really don't get that focus outside from the really big battles to take down the Death Star. But this really gives you the people on the ground. We don't really have a big force. There's no Jedi coming in to save us. And even here, our Jedi was doing his absolute best to bring... Yeah. he did, in this chess match, Kanan brought in the guy who flipped the table.
Right, exactly.
Like, that was the whole point of him is, we literally cannot win this game. Here is someone who will flip the table and hopefully will make it out the other side.
Hera and Thrawn are playing this very intricate game, and the Bendu just runs in and knocks down the table.
Get off of my lawn!
Yeah. Which I will say, I guess, like, I sort of appreciate that Kanan took the very, like, Jedi approach to it, and, like, it didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to.
This is your friend? Ugh, friends.
Might have made him mad.
Ryan Watallison in chat says, this episode showed why Hera is a general by the time Rogue One rolls around.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I think she's at a point where she's going to get promoted pretty soon since we lost some people in charge.
Captain seems a little small for her, considering what she's capable of.
Well, because, I mean, you know, without her kind of having as solid of a plan as she had, and again, like, participating in this chess match with Thrawn, there would have been more, like, she managed to kind of hold him off until the table got flipped and then escape with everybody.
Yeah, or everyone that they could escape with anyway.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
that guy who flipped the chessboard didn't murder on their way out.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That first moment, too, when all of those Star Destroyers came out of hyperspace, like, right where the Rebel Squadron was, it was like...
It was extremely intimidating.
Yeah.
And
they know where they are. Oh, God, they know where we are. And they're here.
And Hera was the one to immediately be able to piece together, based on Fulcrum's message, shoot, they know where we are. Mm-hmm. She is the one that knows Thrawn best and is probably the one that's most capable of trying to combat him. It's like trying to fight a supercomputer, but, like, she's probably the most qualified given her one-on-one time with him.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. But yeah, I mean, overall, slight feelings of the Bendu being Deus Ex Machina aside, I really enjoyed these episodes.
Oh, yeah, these were great.
To your point, this was a very different season finale.
Very different.
The finale for season 1 was very much a family rescue mission.
Yes.
And it was so, you know, again, it was surprising when Inquisitors just were like, peace, I'm out.
Yeah.
And bringing in Vader and all that. Ending of season 2 was such an emotionally charged, very personal story on both fronts, on both the Maul and the Ahsoka Vader front. Here, this is where we're, like, getting more grand scheme, like, hey, we're trying to dismantle the coalition that is the rebellion, and we're seeing a huge setback in that effort to try to bring everybody together.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more Rogue One, this finale, because, again, we have all of the people on the ground. We have all of the people that make up this rebellion and set up this structure to allow this very, very tiny handful of Jedi to fight Vader, I guess. I lost the end of that sentence.
Well, I mean, you know, and at this point, too, it's like with whoever has, managed to survive, they're all on their way to Rebel Command at Yavin 4. And I loved AP5 being like, I recommend that we take an additional hyperspace jump. And it's just like,
might as well do 3. Let's do 3.
Can I just say I love his little run cycle?
Oh my God, his run was amazing. It was just so great. More AP5.
Yes, please.
I also loved at the beginning of the episode when Ezra was having his really nice heart-to-heart moment with Kanan about everyone's working so hard for this rebellion. I mean, you and Hera and Zeb and Chopper, not so much.
Well, and I really liked that moment too, because we've seen so much of egotistical Ezra in this season, and I think meeting Obi-Wan really humbled him.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I didn't contribute to any of this, and even though that's not true, and we have this interaction with him and Kanan, and again at the beginning of the season, he's like, I don't need Kanan. Kanan left, and here he's like, I need you not to teach me about being a Jedi, but to continue teaching me about how to be a good person.
I think that was my favorite conversation in the episode.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed a lot of conversations in this episode, but just that bit of,
Dad, don't leave me again.
Right.
Yeah, you're my surrogate dad now, and you have a lot more life experience than I do. The Jedi stuff has been great, but I need you to keep teaching me how to be a good human being.
Yeah. And I like that, the episode was kind of bookended with that conversation at the beginning and then their conversation at the end where Ezra is understandably upset because from his perspective being so young, this is such a huge
devastating
loss. They lost their base. They lost
a lot of people.
A lot of their fleet.
Isn't this the second time he's lost his home?
Kind
that base was home?
Yeah.
And not to mention that, I remember when season 2 was getting ready to start, they were talking about how season 1 was basically like A New Hope. And that for season 2, they wanted to make it a little bit more like Empire Strikes Back. And I feel like that extended.
Yeah, I
to
was going to
season
say, I feel like
3.
this is still Empire Strikes Back.
No, this ending is way more Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're probably going to get maybe one more season of Empire before we get a season of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Anything else you want to talk about in this episode specifically?
I just enjoyed all of it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. There were some parts where it was like, yep, this is hilarious. And then there were some, I was making a lot of noises. Just a lot of noises.
So happy Kallus is alive.
Yes.
Beautiful animation. Again, everyone's expressions were so good. That scene where Hera's standing underneath the shield and you're just seeing all of these lasers bombarding the shield. Just absolutely exquisite. And then
Kanan out having to find cover because they're blowing up everything.
But just really great art direction in this episode. Like I said, stellar animation. Good job, guys, and thanks for not killing Kallus.
Do you guys have any favorite moments from this season that come to mind?
Favorite moments from this season?
Oh, that's a lot to mull over.
For me, it's all of Trials of the Darksaber. Basically everything that happened with Sabine this season. This was a really, really good season for her. I felt like it added a lot of layers to her character, wherein she was kind of the fun, spunky, tough girl who, she was always kind of a mess, which made her an interesting person. She was definitely not your kind of generic, girl who blows stuff up. But I just really felt that this season, by the time they found the Darksaber, you didn't want Ezra or Kanan to have it. You really wanted her to take up the mantle.
I would have to agree with you on that as a personal highlight.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go with AP5 singing.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a magical moment.
I enjoyed a lot of the stuff with the Bendu. Just as a character, he intrigues me. Partially because I can't separate him from Tom Baker Time Lord. Mm-hmm. And partially because it's really interesting to see people who do straddle both sides and make that balance. And even if I think he kind of threw that out the window at the end, it started coming off to me as more, I think that I'm this than I am this. That it shifted a little bit at the end there, but I really enjoyed him as a character. And I enjoyed just at the end that laughter, if you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. And lo and behold, that was that moment for Thrawn.
So good.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I know for a lot of people, probably their personal highlight is just seeing Thrawn. Period.
Oh, at all, yeah.
So that and getting because I haven't read any of those extended universe books, getting introduced to him was really cool.
It was-
And I guess the new Thrawn novel comes out in a week or two.
Yeah, it does. It was really interesting actually hearing the producers on Rebels and stuff talk about that. Talk about the character of Thrawn on Rebels Recon, because they were talking about how, we're introducing Thrawn, this like really scary villain, into what's supposed to be a kids show, and they basically were like, well, we don't really think of Rebels as a kids show. We think it's a show for everybody, and even if kids watching the show don't fully understand sort of the psychological games that Thrawn plays and how complex his strategies are, like they still get that he is a bad guy and that he is really smart and really scary.
I'm gonna go back to Gargoyles for this. Xanatos.
Yeah.
Little kids don't understand all the ins and outs of Xanatos, but they know that he is the scariest guy on the block.
Yeah, because Lars Mikkelsen, he's freaking great.
Yeah.
So good.
But it's
so good
the
as
same
Thrawn.
idea. Oh, did plan A go down? All right, we got plan B, we got plan C.
Yeah.
I can think my way in circles around you. We're good.
And getting to see him think and see his thought process and see him plan things out was really cool. I have to say, though, my favorite was Kallus turning into Fulcrum.
Yeah.
I have to, I can't lie.
Yeah.
We're just getting that reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole, just that couple of minutes of, no, I'm him, when we have to make it look convincing window.
Yeah, Kallus is definitely one of my favorite characters, and I'm glad to see him live to see another day.
Him and his mutton chops.
Yes.
So happy.
Is Megan in the chat? Do we know?
She is. She's been in the chat this whole time.
Happy birthday, Megan!
Birthday.
That's also my segue into iTunes reviews, because somebody asked us on there for a birthday shout out. We have 2 new reviews, both 5 stars. What a finale! Exclamation point from Prodigal 358. I don't know, Megan. Maybe this is you. Wow, not what I was picturing, but amazing. Cannot wait to see what is coming next season. If it's not too much trouble, can I get an on-air birthday shout out? Shout out to you.
Happy birthday!
Also, Prodigal 358, or maybe just that's another one to Megan. I don't know. And then there's another review entitled Rebel Women from Jedi James 32. Smart, intelligent, and well-informed banter between the hosts. Very up-to-date fix for the latest on new episodes of Star Wars Rebels. I love the women's enthusiasm and their perspective on the Star Wars universe. We need more voices like this. I agree.
You guys.
you.
So season 3. That's all she wrote.
Oh, it went by too quickly.
Yeah,
It did.
Yeah, it really did. I expect, I'm just gonna go with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s one spoiler for season 4 is that Kanan and Zeb are still handsome. He tweeted that earlier. I thought that was pretty entertaining. So
I feel like that's about right.
yeah, there we go. Season 3. We will be back for season 4 when that happens, which will be sometime in the fall. I'm suspecting sometime around late September, early October, as that kind of seems to be the trend. But
Same
guys,
bat channel.
Yeah,
Can't vouch for the time, but same bat channel.
Exactly. We'll obviously share all of that information once we have it. So. Until then, we all do lots of other things.
Yes, we do.
So we don't need to be completely out of your lives. Katie, where can people keep up with you?
You can find me on all the social medias and YouTube at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I am also on Snapchat at Kia Prime. YouTube is mostly reaction videos. If you like watching the two of us make faces as we watch things, that is the place to do it. I am on the Iron Fist after show. That is Tuesdays at 6. I'm on Arrow. That is Wednesdays at 9. In this time, the 8 p.m. time slot, Samurai Jack starts next week, so that's going to be super fun. And I am also on Geek and Sundry's Gather Your Party on Friday nights. That's twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry. We play video games. We have an improv group that we partnered up with. Everything is wonderful. You should watch.
Megan Salinas.
Hey guys, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @themenguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for the Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. I did a review of the Death Note teaser trailer that came out this week. So if you want to hear me scream incoherent Coherently Into the Void.
If you want to hear me
my old
screaming
friend.
coherently into the void, check out the last Schmoes Know live show. I went on quite a rant about it. Follow Joelle on all social media at Joelle Monique. That's what she's everywhere. She's doing all kinds of stuff, and she likes to tweet as much as I do. So yay! And I'm Emma Fyffe. I can be found all over the internet, wherever Emma Fyffes are sold, at my name, Emma Fyffe. You can continue to enjoy Star Wars adventures with me every Friday night at 9:00 p.m. on twitch.tv/hyperrpg for Pencils and Parsecs, where we play the Edge of the Empire role-playing game by Fantasy Flight. It is so much fun. You guys should watch. We have a great cast, and that is that. Again, guys, you can still use that hashtag ABTV Rebels to share any Star Wars thoughts you have with us, and we'll see you all for season 4.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
May the Force be with you.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.